TermoproCenter Software is an integrated part of soldering complex IK650 Pro and serves for soldering process control and management. Start up the program and it displays a loading window where you can select operator or working mode. Connected devices will be recognized automatically. Pressed OK moves you to a main program what presents a temperature versus time graph. Process run is reflected in real time, and refer graphs appear in this field. Fields for placing service functions, tags and marks are situated along both coordinate axes. 5 memory buttons in left top corner over the graph used for automatically save of 5 last process runs. It helps operator to keep recent data in memory buffer for analysis, downloading and proper saving. Left part of the display is taken by panel of devices, which actually duplicates display of controllers, and the air cooler panel. It reflects all running temperature values. Here, operator also can set up and change process parameters. Try to keep top heater panel on top for your convenience. Every time starting a new process, operator has to check or set up a correspondence between modules of equipment, computer channels, and profile's numeric number. A link between modules and computer port calls definition, and it is checked or set up in channel's definition window, where operator identifies that each physical part of equipment refers to some definite channel. It is critically important to keep this correspondence, and the program will block performance process in case of any mismatch. A match between profiles number and channels can be set up on device panels. Press down directed arrow on panel and its menu roll down. Here, operator can check and correct links, which supplemented with color correspondence between channels number frame and graph color to make visual control more effective. When NP3424AB Pro bottom heater is used, the function will help to synchronize its two heating plates is available. This option is helpful when operation turns from small to big boards. Changes in this function is made by check mark setting in bottom heater panel menu. Both heaters can be managed in semi-manual mode without the program control. For this matter, operator should change the value of temperature of stabilization and put a check mark in window heat. Selected heater will start change its temperature immediately. It's important to remember that heating speed is not controlled in semi-manual mode. Therefore, it is not recommended to set up big temperature values with no preliminary analysis or clear understanding of congruences. Operator has an ability to switch on or off displaying of each particular channel graph. For this matter, he has to put or remove a check mark in window display. Refers to selected channel. Buttons on devices panel duplicate the main program menu for convenience and fast operating. Button Create or Edit Process turns the program into process editor mode. Options allows to set up or change the main process parameter, its display and management. Mode defines basic program settings. Buttons Thermograph and Soldering refer accordingly to Thermograph temperature recorder mode and the soldering process mode. Let's consider each button briefly. Button Create or Edit Process moves us in a soldering process file mode. Here we can download one of existing and preliminary saved processes for further work with it. Program offers to select the process from list of available. Each process in the list has a detailed description with the date of creation, devices and materials used, and component this thermo-profile was made for. Also, operator or process engineer can create absolutely new process. Pressing a button Create New moves us into New Process Creation interface. Here we can develop new process for any component and board by drawing and graphic manually, point by point, and the program inputs data of each point into table automatically. Or we can input each point parameters into table and program will draw a graphic for us automatically. Any correction at the process can be easily made by the same manner changing data in a table, or dragging a point or even part of graphic to a new position. After a new graphic is ready, operator makes a channel's definition and profile links in a way described earlier. When a new process creation is completed, and definitions and links are set up, it can be saved as a process file into a process directory, from where it can be downloaded each time when it's needed for work. As well as in Microsoft Windows, it is important to give file a proper name and correct description, what will let you avoid mistakes in future. Additionally to that, in this mode, you can add tags of service function at any point of process you need. For this matter, click right mouse button to a tags field along axis of coordinate and select required function from rolled down list. The tag will appear. As it was mentioned earlier, all buttons duplicate main menu, as well as button options, which allows to set up initial parameters of the process, graph parameters of profile, on and off audio-video options and basic program operations. You always can cancel your changes by pushing Restore Factory Setting button. Button Mode allows you to adjust program functions referred to different stages of the process. Based on your personal priorities, you can change factory settings. Particularly, it makes a big sense for small-rate manufacturing companies and factories, where the process repeats and regimes are changed quite often. If you press button Thermograph, the complex will turn into temperature recorder mode, where different temperature processes can be realized on complex, and temperature will be controlled and recorded at all available channels. Achieved graphs and data can be used for analysis and process thermo-profiles development. The program can work in virtual simulator mode, what's very helpful for training. To get into this mode, you need to switch all devices off and restart the program. At start, the program will ask you about configuration you would like to use for simulation, and after your selection gets into Startup interface. Press OK and you will get into Virtual Simulator, when you can perform any actions and the program will model reality to match that. You can create and edit process, make analysis of job done earlier, change the save parameters. Additionally to this, you can select and download one of available processes. Check all channels and devices definitions, profile links, and adjust these if you selected a different device's configuration than it required by selected process. This mode helps operators to introduce with the software in its details, with no any risk for equipment and processed product. You can easily run simulation of selected process by pressing Start button. At the end, the process virtual realization will be displayed in Interface Graph field. The only difference to real process will be in a fact that simulated process will have no deviations, corrections, and lines of process realizations always will coincide with programmed profiles. Place a board you will process on a bottom heater plate with optimal gap. Use for that supplied fluoroplastic racks. Try to place a board in the center of heating plate, what let you keep equal temperature conditions across board body and will prevent or at least minimize deformation. Place processed component on the contact pads by method accepted at your enterprise. Move a top heater into working position. For what, turn heater's head counterclockwise into laser pointer position and move a laser dot to the center of processed components by sliding holder's arm and rotating it around central shaft. After the laser dot is aimed to center of component, fix the holder arm by tightening fixing nuts and turn heater head into working position, turning it backward against clockwise. Correct positioning of control sensor on a board is the most critical operation with grant a temperature readout precision. Please follow our simple recommendations. Install sensor on conductor's traces comes from component or metal field situated as close as possible to component. Sensor is to be placed with a gap as close as possible to a component side, which is most distant from a board edge. Sensor has to be aligned to a board with whole its bottom surface. Left arm of sensor holder tripod has to be as close to horizontal position as possible that let you avoid contact with top heater's head. Operating control sensor holder tripod. Keep in mind that it can be fixed only in most upward position. In other positions, please hold it with your arm to prevent its falling on working surface, what can destroy sensor. Select and install the screen on a top heater head. Remember that screen's window size has to be from 5 to 10 mm bigger than component on each side. Try to use 3D screens, whose efficiency is 30% higher. Down top heater into lower working position, from 1 to 1.5 cm over a board, and start the run of early selected process by pressing button Start in left bottom corner of the display. After that, the process doesn't need operator's participation and will complete soldering process automatically. However, some misfunctions can take place and the system will inform operator about such situation with audio signal. If equipment is in order and was correctly assembled and interconnected, a misfunction can be caused only by mismatch of the selected process to a thermodynamic environment conditions higher than estimated heat capacity of the board, for example. In such cases, the process will start periodically switching over into auto-pause and auto-correction modes and delay process, what also can be caused by not controlled heat leakage, such as opened window or working air conditioner. Operator has an ability to hold up the process by pressing button Pause and make a manual temperature corrections. The equipment will start supporting the running temperature at board, and buttons T+1 and T-1 appear in left bottom corner of display. Pressing these, operator can increase or decrease current temperature at component with 1 degree grade. When required value of temperature change is achieved, the pressing button Continue the process will start running the process again, but after the change's temperature value is reached. Upon solder melting point, achievement and formation of contacts is completed, the program informs about the process completion. In case when forced ventilation is required, air cooler unit FC500 can be engaged at this stage, and the program will recommend operator to raise top heater from working zone. Process can be stopped at any stage by pressing End Process button. If you run component desoldering, remove component at this stage of the board by method taken at your enterprise. After the process stopped, the program will recommend to save gotten results into a file in directory Results. However, if you ignore it, the program will save result to memory button number 1 anyway. Operator and process engineer always can introduce changes into process or create a new one for new job in a process editor mode. Amendments in old process or creation of new one can be made in process editor mode and realized by 2 ways: graphic and table. When a graph of new thermo-profile for a new process is ready, it is necessary to hold the device's definition process, what can be done as for existing configuration of equipment, as for any other what potentially will be used in future in other equipment. When definition is done, the program can create an automatic profiles both for top and bottom heater. These profiles for heaters will be also automatically linked to channels and channels defined to devices channels, what easily can be checked in color number frames, under a chart and in panels of devices. Each profile will be marked in color line and number of the channel, if needed. The complex allows the control of heaters in manual mode or keep the temperature on it stable, or even switch it off completely. After thermoprofiles for heaters are created, the process is ready for work and can be saved as a file in Processes directory for further use. We highly recommend to leave as much detailed description in a file-saving window as possible. This information will help to match files for each particular job. For more precise heat distribution and balancing, operator can apply a temperature automatic correction method, for what checkmarks in channel definition window have to be put into cooler, top or bottom. If it is needed to introduce channels or make any amendments into early created process, it has to be selected and downloaded into process edit mode. After that, you should select one of profiles which is going to be edited. The following procedure is completely the same as we described earlier in case of new process creation. Change graph points, change table value, check definition and links, and save the new version of an amended file with old or new name in processes directory. The program will recommend you to make a recalculations of auto-profiles. We recommend to do so, but in case when changes are neglected and you're sure in data, the software can be ignored. The difference between processes of soldering, desoldering, reballing and mass soldering is only in temperature parameters and materials used, what change a shape of thermo-profile and sometimes a heat transfer balance between top and bottom heaters. Operator or process engineer can use one of basic processes supplied with program as a base for adaptation to his daily needs. And of course, operator has to take into consideration some specific features of products he works with and tune the basic process to reflect his specific. Despite the fact that this film contains information which can be recognized as training, we highly recommend to read and study Manual for Use and Safety to whole complex and each particular module. For upgrade your experience and learning more specific features and case studies components installation, we address our customers and partners to document practical questions of BGA components installation and removal. All these documents and many others are available on CDs supplied with equipment. Modular soldering complex IK650 Pro with TermoproCenter program is a flexible instrument of modern electronic industry, what helps you to solve complicated technology tasks. We would be glad to share our experience with you.